Yeah, I think what you mentioned there, John, is, again, the conditions are changing.
Yep.
We talked about it, but again, a little bit noisier bait, a little something different. And again, you got to keep changing up. You can't.
It's easy to think that, oh, well, the fish stopped biting,
Right.
or, you know, oh, we got to go to a different spot.
Right.
But, you know, we've had certain areas where we've been catching the fish, and we go back to those areas and not catching anything, and now all of a sudden, I mean, the last 2 times we came by here, we didn't catch anything.
Right.
Try some new baits, try a different size, a different color, and all of a sudden, boom, boom. You know, we've caught, you know, several fish here in the last several minutes.
That was a nice pickerel.
Right. I think it's easy. A lot of times, guys they don't want to take the time to either change lures.
Right.
They don't want to take, and that's half the reason why we got so many rods. It's
Right.
easy to just put one rod down,
Pick up
another, throw that for a couple of turns, and put that down and try something else, and to be able to continue to try different baits and
go through the water column too.
Yeah,
with those
absolutely.
baits.
I mean, I've got 2 rods rigged with a spinnerbait. You know, 2 different types of spinnerbaits, just to continue to mix it up, so we can see what the fish want to try. Go get another one.
And now for a closer look at today's tackle, Delaware Valley Outdoors presents the Tackle Box. For more information about the tackle used on today's show, go to DelawareValleyOutdoors.com.
Well, John, we're at the tackle box, and springtime, the conditions are going to dictate what we need.
Right.
We brought a variety of stuff with us, but with the weather conditions that we had today, nice little breeze, sun in and out, we had to start out with some spinner baits,
right,
and a small crankbait and a jerk bait. One of the baits that we're using today, and again, we went up against the different baits. I had a trailer hook on mine, and I went with the 2 silver blades,
right,
that were out there. And again, chartreuse.
Chartreuse and white. Tough to go wrong as a first choice.
Right.
Chartreuse is always a good place to start, especially in a water that has a little bit of stain to it, or a little bit of color.
And your bait that you started out with was this bait. Tell me about this one here.
That's this is a 1/4 ounce Terminator. I've come to really like them a lot because they don't get bent. The arm stays true. They come through the water real good. I've really come to like that turtle shell. You know, kind of like the small willow leaf blade. It gives a real good thump in the water, and you can really feel that vibration. And I've really gotten in the habit of using the twister tail, or the twin tail at the end. It just gives a little bit of extra flash, a little bit of extra attractant.
And we hooked up some big fish on this one here.
Yeah,
again, I think it's just a little bigger profile too, where it comes through the water.
Right.
And we did have a little stain to the water today, so I think that chartreuse, with that combination with the light factor,
Right.
is going through there.
Yeah, it turned out good.
The other bait that I went to, again, kind of sort of got the split tail thing on
Right.
it, was a bait that's called the chatterbait. Again, it came out a few years back, but never caught on. But the past couple of years, it's really got.
Yeah, heard a lot about it. This
yeah.
is the first time I've ever seen anybody fish with it. So.
And again, it's one of those baits that really gives a lot of action, a lot of thump, and a lot of noise. And you can fish it a variety of ways. You could use it like a spinnerbait. You can almost use it like a crankbait, and you can flip it like a jig and just drop it and pop it.
So you can bounce that off the bottom as well.
Yeah. And one of the things that we knew today that you had said was the strikes, how they were going to come. They were going to. We had to search for the fish, but yet they were going to be aggressive.
We expected them to be aggressive.
Yeah.
The weather's been good. The water temperature was rising all throughout the day. It still hasn't been a spawn yet. This fish should be looking to feed quite a bit to get ready for the spawn. So it turned out to be a good day.
And then we came into the conditions that got a little cooler. Cloud came over. So you went to a different bait, a little bait. Tell me about this bait.
Right. This is a man's classic spinnerbait, again in the 1/4 ounce size. Most of the time we were fishing less than 3 foot of water. And the 1/4 ounce was easy to keep up and keep over the cover. This has been kind of just a go-to bait for me. Something about that fire tiger color, the orange, whether it looks like a bluegill or bream, and those copper blades. I've caught a lot of fish on them in the springtime. So.
And that's one thing you mentioned before, the weight of these. We weren't throwing 3/4 ounce spinnerbaits.
Or even 3/8 or halves.
No, because it's just the water depth.
Right.
two baits that you had tied on, and this one you really like.
I like that one a lot. That's a storm. I think it's called a shallow wart. Just dives like 1 foot. You know, with what we had out here, so much of the cover has just come up to just below the surface, and that is just a great bait for just wiggling right over the top of whether it's submerged grass or stump or logs, and I've caught a lot of fish on that.
And it came through the water relatively clean. I mean, when you got to figure all the vegetation that we were actually going over, it really gets right through there.
We started the day. That's what I was throwing. You started with a spinnerbait because we figured that would be good, but a lot of places, a lot of people will throw a spinnerbait, and I always try to think of what's a bait that no one is throwing. What's something that's going to cover the same water, but covered in a different way, and that bait is a perfect substitute to a spinnerbait. If a lot of people are throwing a spinnerbait, then that's a great bait to go because it'll stay shallow, it'll come through a lot of weeds, it won't get hung up, and I've caught a lot of fish on that.
One of the things that what you had said was you have this tied on one rod, you have a spinnerbait tied on the other rod, you have a jerkbait tied, so that when you see a set of conditions out there that mimic, we can do it. Now, this is an interesting bait, John, you really like. Tell me about this one.
That one is a well-worn. I've been fortunate enough to hang on to that. That is a Bagalese Bangalore. It's made out of balsa. It makes it very, very buoyant. It stays very shallow. You know, we've talked jerk baits many, many times, and oftentimes we're talking about those suspending types, those ones that dive down and stay down. But in a shallow lake like this, there's just no way you can fish a bait like that. It gets too deep. It's going to be getting hung up. That bait will probably only go about 1 foot, maybe 18 inches down, but it's really just that. It's a jerk bait. It's going to zig, it's going to zag, it's going to pause, it's going to float up, and really create a reaction bite to it. You know, we had one hooked on it today. Unfortunately, didn't get it on the camera, but it is a great, great springtime bait when the fish are up close to the bank in shallow water.
And you like the balsa versus the plastic? In
super shallow water, I think balsa is better. It's a little more buoyant. Plastic baits tend to dive down and stay down. This one really just will dive down a little bit and then pop back up very, very quickly.
I can tell that this has
yeah, it's battle scars on that one. I've had that one a long time. It's one of my favorites.
Well, that's the tackle box.
You gotta go get him? You got him, Bob.
On the chatterbait.
Got him on that chatterbait.
On that chatterbait. There you go. Nice little springtime buck bass coming up here. Hey, John, I want to thank you
for
taking us out on Lake Towhee. And go to our website, Delaware Valley Outdoors. John writes a column, John Hawthorne. Talk all about fishing. And we all kinds of got reports. Go to our webcast or podcast and find out all about fishing. Oh, I like my
man, works out good.
Have faith, huh?
You did good, my friend. Don't fall.
I'm Bob Murray. I'll see you on the water.
That's him off. You get him, you need help. I thought you were whacking your bait there to get the weeds off. Let him slide my boat.
That was right at the boat.
Right at the boat.
Right at the boat.
We might have gotten in a little too close.